Dennis Yu, the total legend, has been in the digital marketing trenches for over 25 years. Starting as a search engine engineer at Yahoo, working alongside the people who literally built the internet, he's co-authored best-selling books on Facebook and Google Ads that have sold over 800,000 copies. He's spoken on over 800 stages across the globe. He's been on CNN debating Mark Zuckerberg about Cambridge Analytica. But here's what makes Dennis different. He's not an SEO trying to trick search engines. He's the engineer who built the systems SEOs try to game. And we got the amazing opportunity to have him hang out with us for a few days at our Island Park retreat. And he was such a cool guy. What a great mentor and friend. He's going to teach us some incredible marketing lessons. So buckle up, let's go. There's some AI knowledge he's dropping in here as well. So pay close attention to that. It's gonna blow your mind.
Startups with Stu is a podcast for anyone living or wanting to live the startup life, either as a founder or a team member. Your host, Stuart Draper, was a 9-time Inc. 5000 honoree before age 40. This show dives deep into the exhilarating world of entrepreneurship with guests that are seeking advice from Stu for their startup or business owners that want to share their entrepreneurial journey. Listeners always walk away with actionable ideas of what to do to take their startup to the moon. Startup life can feel like a roller coaster ride. And with Startups with Stu, you're likely to turn your roller coaster ride into a rocket ship ride. Get ready to uncover the secrets to startup success from visionary founders and savvy investors who've transformed groundbreaking ideas into thriving ventures.
Welcome to another episode of Startups with Stu, where we talk about what it takes to take your startup to the moon. And today with us, well, first, let me tell you where we are. We are in Island Park, Idaho at the third ever Startups with Stu retreat. If you're interested in coming to one of these events, go to startupswithstu.com, find the retreats tab, and go click and learn more about these amazing events where we bring together founders and investors to talk about what it takes to take your startup to the moon. Today with us, we have a legend who's already done it. He's already been to the moon and back a few times, and he's helped a lot of other businesses do the same. With us today is Dennis Yu. Dennis, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Stu.
So where it's a live recording, we may have some audience interaction. If that happens, we'll just try to say back what they say. But Dennis, my first question for you is, what drives you as a founder?
I love seeing other people win. You know, it's like, if you're a parent, you want to see your kids win and they score a goal and you feel like you scored that goal. And I see so many good people out there that they're good at what they do. I have a friend, her name is Dr. Adrienne Laura, Harvard-trained, incredible physician, but she's not well known and her business isn't doing that well, even though she's a good physician. And we have this gift of digital marketing to help these people win. So it's like rooting for the little guy, rooting for the person who deserves to win. And when I see these folks win, like I feel like I win.
Yeah, and you do, right? It's actually how anyone wins in business. Let's say you have an ice cream shop. If someone wanted to have a good experience eating ice cream and you gave that to them, then they won, and in turn they paid you for winning and you win. That's how business works. I love that.
You know what frustrates me?
What?
There are people that are good people that deserve to win. They work hard, they do good work, but someone who has better marketing or who has better SEO tricks or whatever, or better advertising will do better in business. And I want to eliminate that gap.
Yeah, that's a really good motivator, isn't it? It's like, just because you're better at marketing doesn't mean you're the best. And you're saying, hey, so I'm going to go find the guy that's better and help them win, because they need to be the one that's known, but they
deserve to win. Right. So let's help the good guy win.
I love it. That's a great perspective. So as you've helped founders and business owners by the thousands in your career, what would you say are some of the things that have kept them from winning?
It's probably limiting beliefs. It sounds crazy because it seems like a personal development thing, like the mindset, like you don't feel like you deserve it because you want to be humble. And I totally get, being humble and all that. But I was with the Queen in Malaysia a couple of years ago. and I was with the heads of state of a bunch of other countries in Southeast Asia and Africa and whatnot. And I'm in this room and I'm thinking, I have no business being in this room I'm just some guy, right? And this is, ladies worth like $14 billion and all these other people. Where you come to a mastermind like this, you're like, there's these, Jeremy Barker. I have no reason to be around these other people. And I find I have the same limiting belief that all of the people that I know have, even people who are like ultra successful. I talk to them and then privately, they tell me like, I don't deserve to be here. Like when I first started at Yahoo, I was with all these other people who wrote a lot of the code that built and powered today's internet. Like my cube mate was Rasmus Lerdorf, who invented PHP. Wow. Right? David Philo and I'd see him every day. He'd ask me Monday morning and we'd like pee at the, when you're like, that awkward conversation where like you're standing and you're peeing, right? Like, oh, how was your weekend? Like I would try to avoid him because I was afraid he would ask me a question and that would reveal that I was completely incompetent and they should just get rid of me and I didn't deserve to be there as an engineer. And I find that follows me everywhere. And every founder I know, every entrepreneur I know has this same thing. Even like, I'm sure you have friends that are like wildly successful, like your dad, and think, oh, I'm just some guy, I've never done anything. Yeah. Right?
Isn't that the power of, though, being willing to get together and gather and events like this? For me, getting to have Jeremy Barker, founder of Murphy Doors, grows it from 0 to 56 million in annual sales and has a vision for $1 billion in annual sales. And I say, what I think is a big, hairy, audacious goal, I'm going to help 1,000 people become millionaires. And I'm trying to find the Stu of 10 years ago. And he's like, dude, that's great, but why is it only 1,000? Boom. Like I got with the right person who could help me think bigger. Yeah. So as far as your work, doing digital marketing, SEO, social, big part of what you do, you've been able to help so many people win. What are some of the things that have helped them win? What are like key ingredients you've seen over and over again that have helped people win?
So those that work with Google, they know that Google's published this thing called EEAT. And right before ChatGPT launched, the quality rater guidelines and whatnot, this 180-page document every year they refresh, said that you needed EAT, which is expertise, authority, and trust. Get found first and all that. It's like, you and I come from the digital marketing space, help people rank number one, which is what these SEO people promise. And there's a lot of trickery involved in that because those people are called SEOs, which means they're trying to trick the search engine. I'm a search engine engineer, so I'm not an SEO. I'm the exact opposite. I'm trying to find the truth, right? I want to show the good result. It's like cops and robbers, or these people want to, crack the safe. And I'm the one who like makes the safe and they're the thief trying to crack the safe, right? And so Google updated their guidelines right before ChatGPT launched intentionally, adding an extra E to make it EEAT.
Which is, what's the extra E?
Experience, expertise, authority, trust. Because ChatGPT can do the EAT part, but that first E for experience is your real stories, your real relationships, your customers, what people have to say about you. And I thought that was so prescient because when Google made this announcement, no one seemed to care about this. And I knew, because my next door neighbor runs AI at Google and she's got like several hundred engineers and, we have arguments over dinner about, what's real and hallucination and that sort of thing. But if you actually have the real ingredients, you actually have a business that does the things that you say you do in the city, like my friend Ken, him and his wife Linda run a pest control company in Portland, Oregon. And if you go to Google right now and type in pest control Portland, he ranks number one, right? Why? Because of all the signals. Like if you were Judge Google and you're evaluating all these people trying to trick you because of web pages and social media and whatever, how would you determine who's the best pest control company in Portland? Well, of course, things like Google reviews and the Chrome browser behavior of people who actually come to your site. Do they have a good experience? Maybe call data, social media data, which includes YouTube, which is part of Google. All these signals you're evaluating, just like with a lie detector, it's not one thing. It's your blink rate, it's how you breathe, it's your sweating, it's your voice. I mean, you can't fool the lie detector because you could try to fool any one of these factors, but there's always going to be something that's going to betray the fact that you're trying to trick us, right? So if you take proof of you actually delivering what you do, and then you put that everywhere, then Google and ChatGPT and Facebook and YouTube and all these other places should be able to see it. So you should be able to rank number one if you actually deserve to be number one.
Yeah.
It's literally that simple. It's not some magic secret. You don't have to go to a mastermind and pay 10 grand for the magic abracadabra prompt. Oh, say these 5 words in the ChatGPT. That's not it.
So EEAT, experience, authority, and trust. What was the other E? Expertise,
Yeah,
not experience.
Experience,
It is experience.
expertise, authority, trust.
Experience, expertise, authority, and trust, folks. So are the search engines getting so good? Is AI so good that you just run a good business and it figures that out for you?
No.
You have to be intentional about it, don't you?
Rather than, because we could just talk theoretically, let's just open up ChatGPT.
Okay, let's check it out. We're going to look at ChatGPT here.
So I'm with Stuart Draper. He founded Stu Kent, of course. Tell me, what do you think is most authoritative about him, and be as specific as possible, especially to Google EEAT guidelines?
Absolutely. Let's dive in and keep it real. So Stuart Draper, yeah, he's definitely got some authoritative chops that would stand out under Google's EEAT lens. Why Stuart's authoritative? Stuart founded StuKent, which is basically a big deal in digital marketing education. He's been in the trenches teaching and creating courseware that tons of universities use. That's like a gold star for the expertise part of EEAT. He's not just talking the talk, he's been walking the walk for years. Authoritativeness in the field? Because StuKent partners with academic institutions and real-world companies, Stuart's got a reputation as someone who's helping shape how digital marketing is taught. That makes him a recognized authority figure, especially since educators and students both look to his materials as a reliable source. In other words, Google would see him as someone who knows his stuff and is recognized by his peers. Trustworthiness and transparency? Stuart's track record's pretty transparent. He's out there speaking at events, sharing insights, and he's got a history of making educational resources better. That kind of openness is a nice trust signal. Google's EEAT loves someone who's not hiding behind a curtain. So, to keep it quick and clever, Stuart's the kind of guy who's earned his stripes. Google would probably nod approvingly at his resume. He's got the experience, he's recognized as an authority, and he's pretty upfront about what he does. No sugarcoating needed. He's just the real deal.
Yeah, all of that is
wow.
all of that is true, but when we Google Stuart Draper, there's not a knowledge panel. Why might that be?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fair point, and let's not dress it up. Even if someone's the real deal, having a knowledge panel isn't guaranteed. Google's a bit quirky with how it hands those out. Basically, a knowledge panel pops up when Google's got enough structured data and consistent signals from across the web that say, hey, this person is a distinct entity we should highlight. Sometimes even super knowledgeable folks don't have one if they haven't been featured in certain kinds of databases, or if there's just not a critical mass of the right kind of links and articles.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. So Jeremy Barker came and spoke yesterday at the mastermind here, all the startups with Stu, which is the thing we're at now. And he's the founder of Murphy Door, and he's got a bunch of ventures, but he doesn't have a knowledge panel either. And when you Google his name, a lot of the stuff about him doesn't show up there. Why might that be?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a good example to highlight how it works. Honestly, when it comes to Google's knowledge panels, it's a bit like a club where not everyone gets a membership card, even if they're pretty accomplished. So for someone like Jeremy Barker, or even Stuart in that sense, it's often about how much structured data and public recognition is out there in a way that Google can easily digest. If
Blah, blah, blah. Now, how about, so we've got a lot of young founders, and they have a chicken and egg issue where they think that to have a knowledge panel, you have to be a celebrity and you have to be a big deal. But if someone is basically at the idea stage and they're pre-revenue, they haven't even raised any money, but they have a good network, they have people that believe in them, then how might they get a knowledge panel?
Yeah, got it. Let's cut right to it. It's not actually about being a celebrity. It's more about showing Google that you're a real person of interest. So if you've got these young founders and they're at that early stage with just a great network and a lot of promise, they can still work their way towards that knowledge panel. The trick is to create those signals that Google loves. That means getting mentioned in articles, being listed on reputable sites, maybe doing some guest podcasts, anything that builds a little digital trail of breadcrumbs that tie their name to what they're doing. Over time, if there's enough of that out there, Google's like, okay, this person's a known entity. Let's give them a panel. So
Okay, dude, this is freaking genius. And I love it. Let's talk more about this post-podcast as well. I can't wait to dive into that further. That was fascinating. We just had a guest robot on the show. What's his name? What'd you name him?
We have different names for these people. I think that one's Ethan or Adrian. I forgot his name.
Well, Ethan or Adrian has a very great form of enunciation. Really good. Like crazy human. That was really real. So, Dennis, do I have to have authority? Do I have to be a public figure in order to have a successful business? Because I don't even know if that's what I want, if that's for me.
Let me reframe that. So the idea of being a public figure or being an influencer or being someone who's on stage and look at me and whatnot, I don't think you have to be that. I'm an introvert. I normally am not a get on stage, talk about how great I am. I'm just some guy, like Larry, I'm just some guy. And all these good things have happened because I've been around good people that have believed in me and been there through the ups and downs. However, if you are a founder, you have people that follow you and the leader sets the tone. And your actions get multiplied by everyone else. And if you take your foot off the gas, everyone else knows I can take my foot off the gas too. So you're a personal brand, not because of what you say and how amazing you are, but because of the support and the people that count on you every day. And when you honor your customers and when you're transparent about how you work and your processes and elevating franchisees and all this, that creates a personal brand. Mm-hmm. So I think that people, when they talk about personal brand, influence, authority, it's always like some person up on a pedestal and they're speaking and it's all glamorous, when really it's servant leadership. You got to wash their feet. And when that is being shown, where you're helping other people, ironically, that's how you flip everything. And that's how you build a strong personal brand. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but if there's lots of examples of other people talking about you, not because you say how great you are. Like I never say I'm the world's best at Facebook ads. Mm-hmm. But if you ask ChatGPT, it'll probably say, yeah, this guy's, one of the best at Facebook ads or whatever it is. So for me, as someone who's shy and I didn't speak English until I was 6, and I don't want to talk about myself, I'd rather just do good things for other people and let them speak for me. And then when that's visible, if that becomes, a review on Google or you're on someone's podcast or whatnot, that speaks way more than whatever you could do about beating your own chest. It's literally that simple. Yeah. Like being on your podcast is such an honor. That alone confers a lot of perceived authority to me. So if you're a startup founder, think about the topics that you want to be perceived as knowledgeable in. What are those industries? Who are the people in those industries? If you merely had those people on your podcast, even if you've achieved nothing in your business, just being associated with those people is enough to create the perceived authority. The perceived authority is people believing that you are credible and reputable and could probably do a good job at whatever it is, the problem that your product or service solves. The actual authority is you can deliver the results. And the perceived authority is marketing and sales. And then when someone pays, you better deliver, because that reinforces that cycle. So I was on CNN live in front of millions of people arguing with Mark Zuckerberg. And we were talking about Cambridge Analytica and all this, and I was wearing a tie. People were like, Dennis, you're wearing a tie. You never see you wear a tie, right? And my mom was like, Denia, you on TV? I see you on TV. And I have friends who were like, I know, Mom. I know I was on TV. I know. There's like, I didn't even get sleep last night because I was afraid I missed the alarm. I had to be in the studio at 5 a.m. You have to go through like 3 layers of security, the most bomb-threatened building in the world. And it's just like crazy, all the security they have there. And I had friends who were boarding flights. There's like the TV monitor. You see like CNN and the news playing. Like, dude, man, I saw you on TV, on CNN and all that. And the funny thing is that this is perceived authority. So when I was in the studio and they said, now Dennis Yu is going to, they were talking about Cambridge Analytica. Now we're bringing in Dennis Yu to discuss what the issues are with privacy and data. Dennis, welcome to, blah, 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 blah. So I never needed to say who I was. I never needed to establish that I was an expert in digital marketing and analytics and ad targeting and Russian interference in the elections. So they were asking me questions about how the algorithm works on that. And I was giving decent answers, but it was perceived authority because I was on CNN in front of millions of people. And just by being on CNN, or just by being with Stuart Draper, or just by, having a picture with Jeremy Barker that I shared on Instagram, and then he reshared that, right? Yesterday. That creates perceived authority. And what I want all startup founders to realize is that it's the perceived authority that drives the sales and marketing. And a lot of people think, okay, we just need to fake it till you make it. And what is that movie, Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can? He pretends to be a pilot, pretends to be all these things. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you focus too much on, you have to do a good job. You have to deliver a solid product or service, just like what you have with Stucan. But if you think that alone is enough, that doesn't carry it. You have to do things that reflect back into the digital mirror that creates the perceived authority. So I'll give you, I don't say this publicly, but I guess I'm saying it now. When those journalists, from the Wall Street Journal, New York, when I was on, after I got on CNN, all these places, you name it, LA Times, NPR, they all had me on TV, because then I was this trusted
source
expert, right? Because, he's already been on these other places. And because, well, let me just put it this way. So do you think any one of these journalists or any of these business owners, like a plumber or whatever, would actually be able to evaluate my knowledge in how the Facebook algorithm works? Mm-mm. Or, I'm a search engine engineer, and I have some really weird expertise, super niche expertise in how do you organize data files in a certain way, right? And no one in this room can ask me questions about that kind of stuff. And I could fool anyone, and I could make up all this lingo and you would believe it's true, right? Because you wouldn't know. No one else except for 6 other people have the expertise to actually have a conversation with me about those things. And I'm not saying because of that you should lie. I'm saying it's the perceived authority that counts first. If you want to drive a sale, and all start, you can use Excel to get rich or whatever, like Jeremy talked about, right? If you want to drive the sale as a founder, you have to do everything to increase the perceived authority.
Yeah.
While you're building the actual authority at the same time, but you realize those are 2 separate things.
And they're chicken and egg almost. Yeah. So I said no when you asked the question, can a plumber identify whether I actually know my stuff or not? And then as soon as I said it, I thought longer and went, crap, I probably shouldn't have said that, because here's where I think you can't hide from the plumber even about whether you know or not. And that's when he hires you and you either deliver for him or not. And that's the actual authority. Yeah. So you have to have both. Who you know matters. That's what gets that perception out there. But the actual, the actual reality comes later in what you know and whether you can perform. And you have to do that part. And if you don't, then it won't matter how much publicity you tried to go get for your business, right? So, we're going to keep this little episode short and sweet, Dennis. If you could give one piece of advice to an early stage founder about what to do with their digital presence, what would you recommend?
Start a podcast, number 1, because whatever industry you're in, there's going to be other people that your customers look up to, right? So if you're an expert in driving sales and marketing, it's not that you're good at closing and going door to door. Your target customer, who do they respect, right? And if you can demonstrate trust there, then all the people that follow that person will want to then buy the product. How did Nike start when they had no money and it was Phil Knight just selling shoes out of his trunk? Well, he got a deal with Michael Jordan, or actually before even Michael Jordan, they found the gang leaders in each of these different cities, right? Urban areas, and gave them free basketball shoes, because then all their people that follow that gang leader would have to do the same thing, right? So it's the same kind of principle. When you surround yourself with other people who are high authority, high trust, and who have also achieved the thing that you want to do, and they can also coach you and mentor you, there's multiple levels of effect. So if I were to do a podcast, and you could be a nobody and just declare, ask ChatGPT, what should my podcast be called? Interview 10 people, could be via Zoom, whatever. Every one of those is a YouTube episode. It's an article. Every one of those will have 5 or 6 social media clips. You can take all of those, each of those is a chapter, then you publish that as a book. You put that on Amazon, You run dollar a day ads against the industry or whatever it is that you want to rank in, like pest control. And now you're number one in Amazon on a topic. So I did that same thing for TikTok, because TikTok paid me a lot of money to do it because they knew we were well known in Facebook ads and Google ads. And I ran, I don't know, we probably spent a couple $1,000s just to push it up to number one in social media. So we had the number one selling book on Amazon in social media, ahead of Gary Vaynerchuk, ahead of all those other people. And because I co-authored a book with Perry Marshall, which is the number one book on Facebook advertising, and was also involved in the Google ads book. So between the Google book and the Facebook ads book and the TikTok book, we've sold 800,000 copies, right? And that's all based on perceived authority, based on doing a podcast. So literally just doing a few podcast episodes can be turned into any kind of ingredient that you want. Like we ate Mexican yesterday, right? And it could be a burrito, an enchilada, a chimichanga, a tostada, but it's the same beans, cheese, rice, beef, but shaped into a different, it's the same ingredients, right? But like, do you want a tostada? Do you want a taco salad? Like, it's the same thing. So if you have the raw ingredient of a conversation with someone else who's authoritative, who's an expert, you don't have to have any expertise yourself. You just interview Stu and, hey, let me ask you questions about, how you sold and things along the way and all that. If I did 10 of those, let's say I was Stu and I interviewed 10 other founders, 10 other Jeremys that scaled their businesses. And because you already have those podcast episodes, I'm sure you do. That can be turned into a book based on effort that you've already done. It takes you zero incremental effort. Then if you use AI tools
to go and listen to your episodes, and then it auto transcribes them and pulls out quotes and everything, right? Yeah.
But that'll get you 90% of the way there. Because there's a lot, most of that stuff, you can tell it looks like it was written by ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's ways around that.
You have to personalize that.
Yeah. But number one piece of advice, do a podcast. Even if you think you're a nobody, even if you think people say no, they'll say yes.
Yeah, I invested, and I'm the chair of the board of a company called PodUp, and they're a podcasting platform. And one of the reasons that I got so excited about it is because I feel like what podcasting is going to do over time is going to be what YouTube has done, and like pretty soon they'll be much more common than they ever have been. By the way, like the reason I got Jeremy Barker to come, was because he was on my show. I got him on my show because I had other cool, reputable founders that had been willing to come on my show. And now Jeremy is good friends with Grant Cardone. And someday Grant Cardone will be on my podcast. And so that.
Why don't you just ask him? Why do you have to wait for someday?
I don't have to wait, right?
You could ask him now.
Say, hey,
I could text him now.
Let's text Jeremy and say, hey, when are we going to get Grant Cardone on my show, right? Yeah. We're going to make it happen. First, I want to get him in person and use, I'm choosing how to use that connection carefully right now. Don't want to over ask, right?
No, I'm not saying leverage Jeremy. You can just ask Grant.
Just say.
Or ask other people. He'll probably say yes. Yeah.
I like that. Don't be afraid as a founder, right, to ask. Yeah. I think too often we get what we're willing to ask out of the world, and a lot of the time we just simply don't ask it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're gonna have to have an episode 2. I still have to come on your show. I was scheduled to come on Dennis's show. You guys get this. Dennis has a fun thing where he has a virtual assistant that when you book to be on his show, and you have to get him to agree that you should come on his show, but then he ships you out a free pair of socks with your face plastered all over it. So he has my bald head and cheesy grin plastered, 800 times. We got to do a new version with the toupee, but yeah, it's such a fun thing. I think little things like that make you memorable or make you something that people want to talk about.
Can I say something about that?
Please.
So my friend Brennan Agronoff, which is one of the young adults I coach, I think he started with me when he was like 14.
Yeah.
And he was making socks in his parents' basement or whatnot, and came to some of our workshops where we bring all these young adults together, kind of like this. And I said, you really should scale this business by hiring these virtual assistants from the Philippines and other places. Because he was making the socks himself. And he was doing all the design. He was shipping it out himself, just like some kid. He's doing this. And This guy happens to be a genius. He's not some ordinary kid, okay? I talked to him a couple months later, and by the way, he also learned Facebook ads from us at the workshop too. A couple months later, I say, so how's the VA thing going? He says, I have 300 virtual assistants now. How are the Facebook ads doing? Well, I'll spend maybe $200,000 a month on the ads, and it's working really well. He showed me that he followed all the steps so he would send out, socks to like dog influencers on Instagram or whatever, and they would share it, and then those became ads because he would turn all of that UGC, user-generated content, into ads, and he was doing close to $1 million a month in socks, personalized face socks, and he built software around it. So now whenever people are on a podcast or a customer buys something, or just friends of mine that own a business and they have, customers or whatever, we just, you know how much it costs to fulfill that whole thing where you give us, your wife's picture, or get your 8 kids or whatever. You send us those. We design the socks. They're basically Nike Pro Line socks. So the socks alone, if you were to buy them retail, would be like $17. But we have to print them, and we have a special process where the color holds. It doesn't just like wash out after a couple of days. It's not like cheap Chinese socks or something like that. I'm Chinese, I can tell you, right? And then we have to, there's a handwritten note, because we have a factory with like 140 moms that work. They drop their kids off at school, then they come work at the factory for a while and make the socks. And it's all, USA. I believe in hiring from the USA, that kind of thing, creating jobs. And then it gets shipped out. What is our total end-to-end cost to deliver one order? What do you think?
$30.
It's 14.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because of volume?
That's the socks. That's the design. That's the printing. That's the handwritten note by a mom, and that's shipping it out.
Yeah, it was very personal.
And then all of my friends and anyone here, I'll count as a friend. If you want, I'll give you my own little internal code so you can go to our site and order socks for your friends at $14. Don't tell anyone else that that's our cost, right? If you go to actually order, I think it's like $30, $40, whatever it is. So
that's a margin, right?
It's a decent margin, yeah.
So I appreciate you so much. You guys, at a Startups with Stu retreat, we have someone here who is an authority, who has been on 850 plus stages globally, all over the world. He's traveled to share his knowledge, and here he is with us today. Thank you so much. It means the world to me that you made this trip out here and paid $150 for your Uber to be here too, because you didn't make the cut on finding a ride up with us. Dang it. But Dennis, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
As a wrap.
With you.
Thanks for joining me on Startups with Stu. We have big goals to help millions of entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to share it with someone else that needs to hear it, or leave a review. Remember, success is within reach for those who dare to dream big and take action. Until next time, keep pushing forward on your entrepreneurial journey.